say it. You don't know me.
So, okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to say, I think one of the things that I've been dealing with as far as the short time I've been agreeing is that we challenge what we don't like, but we don't get involved with a system to understand the system and how to move effectively with it. For example, in my opinion, what they call it, the racial dismantling also should have had this component built in it.
Well, I'm in the class, and I'm going to definitely bring it up.
Yeah, because it doesn't, all of the facade around it doesn't get into how it impacts systematically.
But understand, their workshop is primarily dealing with the concept of racism. If you look at the statement on that sheet that I handed out, it's one of the first statements. If one does not understand racism, classism, white privilege, terrorism, and the war on drugs, what these concepts mean and how these terms work, then everything else you do understand will only confuse you. You understand that? Now, this is not for white people or black people or brown people. This is for all people, because this is how it works. Who had their hand up? Yes, sir.
I'd be interested in any figures you have on this, but my experience working with people who've been incarcerated for drug offenses is predominantly nonviolent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, almost
conspiracy to distribute.
Right.
It's muling and
40%.
selling.
40% of, let's say, that over 7 million people are there for nonviolent drug charges. Nonviolent drug charges. When I say 70%, that's drug related. You know, you stole, you prostituted yourself, whatever the case may be. You had a question.
I came in a little bit late, and I hope I'm not repeating something, but the thing is that I feel like that this country has a drug problem.
Can you speak a little louder? I'm sorry, sir.
I feel that this country has a drug problem. And the drug problem is not just what is illegal. I mean, you go down to the corner drugstore, and what I feel is the fundamental problem is that we have a basically dysfunctional society. And we have a basically dysfunctional society because we have a society that does not have shared prosperity, where you can have the American dream come true. And that drugs are a way that people try to cope with the stress of living in a dysfunctional society.
You're correct.
And that...
You tell me why people use drugs.
They do it because, like you mentioned, terrorism. The people in this country do not talk economics and politics at work like they do in Greece and other places, because they're afraid that their employer will hear them, their landlord will hear them, etc., and they'll lose their house, they'll lose their job, and whatnot. And so these are the kind of things that people have to live with all the time. And what we need to really be doing is building a society where there's a living wage, minimum wage, etc., and that people can get an education, participate in their democracy intelligently, etc. And these are at the root of the so-called drug problem.
You're correct. Now, people use drugs for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Correct or incorrect?
I'm sorry?
People use drugs for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only.
One reason, they feel better.
Yeah.
That's one of them. They use drugs, first of all, to increase the pleasure, and all of those variables within the pleasure dome. The second reason is to decrease the pain, and all of those variables within the pain dome. People don't use drugs for any other reasons. Now, the other thing that you're talking about, people being afraid, that's the same old statement. Going along to get along makes one complicit in the process. Agree or not agree? So when you see something that's wrong and you don't say or act on it, you are complicit in the process. You've got to understand that. You've got to stand up. This is why we got where we were. And earlier I mentioned about the political process and the last, I think, 8 presidential elections where we see 42% to 52% of the people voting. That sends a strong message to the politicians. Strong. Says we can do what we want to do, and they have. So we are as much to blame as they are. Yes, sir. We have two or three people asking questions. Does anybody else want to say something? I'm not cutting you off. I'm not cutting you off. Does anyone want to say anything else?
I'll say something.
Okay.